I'm sure you know this, but I'm going to let you know this number anyway. 50% of first year teachers consider leaving the profession. But what if they had the right support? Today, we're going to uncover just strategies that are going to help first year teachers, first year leaders, not to just survive, but teach them how to thrive. Dr. Cornelius Gilder has reshaped education in rural Texas, bringing innovative solutions to the real world challenges. Let's dive into the strategies that will help first year teachers transition from that survival mode, you remember, to effectiveness. Think back to the first year of teaching or leading. What was your biggest challenge? Hey, drop that in the comment. You just never know. We may tackle that as the show's going on. Now, if you find value in this, hey, share this with an educational buddy. Subscribe, and let's dive into this conversation. Let's go.
Transforming lives. Inspiring stories from educators worldwide. Impact happening worldwide. Your transformation starts here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you again to Transforming Lives. Our initiative, this series is 50 educators from 50 states. So today, because Texas is, everybody says it's a large state, it's big, I have to wrap it back around and cover another part of Texas because it's an enormous state, right? And I want to make sure that the guests that I bring on are quality. And you're always going to get that, and you're definitely not going to miss it today because my next guest, I am enjoying the conversation I pre-call, and we're going to get this thing going. All right. So my next guest is Dr. Cornelius Gilder. I'm going to bring him onto the stage, and we're going to start this awesome conversation and get things going. All right, sir. I finally got you out the green room. All right. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. How you doing? And thank you, first of all, for being allowed into this space. I'm glad to be here.
Well, that's good. That's good. Usually I kind of jump to how is the weather in Texas? I know we're 500 and some miles away, but how's the weather?
So that's always an odd question to answer because Texas is so vast. I can tell you how it is in my part of Texas, and we are glad that the rain has stopped. It's still a lot of dew and moisture, but the
Mhm.
sun came out this week, and so it's starting to warm up. We are so Everybody's attitudes are uplifting because the sun is back out. So there's hope, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's amazing with how the weather sometimes impacts uh, schools.
Uh-huh.
Definitely, it does. So, with the transition, talking to the different educators across this United States, I'm definitely happy to dive into the conversation around just this idea of first year teachers and just leaders, first year leaders. Like when I think about it, those were um, some interesting times. I don't know about you, maybe yours was, but it was very interesting. So I wanna step into and talk from a district standpoint, and we're kind of work our way in another direction. So what are some key things that you all are doing in your district to help them move beyond just this survival stage, right? I feel it a little bit. I'm thinking back to that first year, but to help them just move forward and thrive in those earlier years.
Well, I think this topic is so pivotal because number one, the feelings of anxiety that we have already within the institution is high.
Mhm.
There are a lot of legislative changes that are being made. There are a lot of influences on the school, from the home to the students, and the work life home balance in our own families. And so, one of the first things that comes to mind, and we put this in place in West Sabine ISD this past year, last year, and we're still building on it now, is systems.
Mm. Yeah.
Systems fixes a lot of issues and anxiety. And so I told them, I said, okay, guys, in the instructional department, in the administrative department, and even in operations and maintenance, our word of the year is systems. What are the things that we do? What are the things that we do well? What are the things that we do not so well? And we're
Mm.
going to start coming around the table, and we're going to analyze everything that happens in every event, and we're going to build a system around it. Now, some of us, we have what you call practice,
Mm.
and the practice isn't a system. It's an unofficial system,
Right.
but it's not a locked in system. So I was telling them, let's bring your experiences to the table. What do we do when, so we can put these things together and build manuals for leading and running our district to excellence, because that's the key word of our district is excellence. Our mantra is greatness is the goal and excellence is the standard. Well, if excellence is the standard, then we need to set our standard on systems.
Right.
Nobody should be surprised, right?
Yes.
And
Right.
so that's one of the things that we did is we created a leadership roundtable, and we started bringing in all the practices, all the traditions, all of the ways of West Sabine, and we started outlining appropriate systems. And I think that's the first key to bringing the anxiety down, particularly for novice teachers, novice principals, novice leaders, all the way around, because you at least have a starting point.
Correct. Yes. I didn't mean to cut you
And
off. Go.
from there, okay, okay, go ahead. I was thinking, okay. So the next thing we like to we also do something that we call action plans. Those are things that come directly from me. So in the event of a highly anticipated event or a highly anticipated program or even an emergency situation, all of my staff knows from the top to the bottom, from the left to the right, from the kids to the adults. They know that when an action plan comes out, that this is straight directed from Dr. Gilder. We outline those systems of communication, the actions, who is accountable for what action in order to build the big picture. And
Mhm.
so, with that being said, one of the things that we're going into this year, nobody knows it yet, we have a major overhaul initiative coming called Operation Excellence. And Operation Excellence is where the teachers play a big role, because it's academic achievement, it's student achievement, it is the POC and how we collaborate together as adults and interdepartmentally and so forth and such. The thing is this, my friend says this all the time. He says losers have goals and winners have systems. And so we have to, and I'm thinking about it because you hosted him not long ago, Daryl Henson.
Right.
He lives by this and it makes sense. And the thing is, there should be nothing. I'm in year 19 this year. I've seen many things, right?
Hmm.
So why aren't those uh, experiences put together into a collective? And so why can't we pull together all of our issues into a collective and just build and thrive and grow from there? And then you tie your hometown traditions and hometown systems and governmental and municipal systems into innovation and moving forward and going through the technology age and phase. And then, I mean, that's how you achieve excellence right there. But then you start doing it consistently and just build from there. And I have more a little bit later, but I think that that's the start. Our action plans, our systems of excellence, and just building things and putting them out in manuals so teachers can know, here's what I do now. Because teaching, it doesn't have a manual.
Right. I agree with you, and to hear the layout. And I was looking at an article from NEA, and our first perspective is that when we say first year teachers or the retention, we think about just that first year teacher. But, and I've experienced this. So, what if someone leaves a district and goes into a new district and they have to be acclimated to the processes? If I'm in year, you know, 8 and, I feel like, oh man, I'm ready. But then you go into a new system, that's a little different. So it's good to hear that again, Dr. Henson did lay that out. But to hear about systems that I don't care where you are, you have to have systems in order to function at a high level. You kind of have a peak,
Absolutely.
but once you have
Absolutely.
systems, everybody understands, and you can kind of push everybody in the same direction, as opposed to you got
Absolutely.
your stragglers. Yeah. So that's yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we have something called the West Sabine Way. And when I first got this job in December of 2020, um, because I'm from this area, because I'm an alum of this district, at one point in time, our district had been the flagship of education in all of East Texas, right? And then because of a lot of changes and instability, our district had fallen to a place where nobody wanted to look at us anymore. We couldn't get applicants. We could not. Our kids were moving out and so forth. I mean, that culture and climate had gone to an all-time low. And so when I got the job as superintendent, and we'll talk about that on a later show, because that's a whole story
Right.
within itself. Um, nobody, our morale was at an all-time low. And so one of the first things that happened was I spent time with those people who had once had our district at a great high level. Our retired teachers, our retired operations people and secretaries and so forth. And basically what we did was a qualitative study.
Mm-hmm.
What made us so great? And the whole time I'm taking notes, I'm jotting down, already know what are the verbs and the adjectives that they're using. And we put all of these things together to rebuild our vision, our mission, our core values, our mantra, all of that, because everything at that time centered around excellence. It was the mindset. And that's where the excellence is the standard came from. And so what I did was we just started being mindful of our language in the district,
Mm-hmm.
being mindful of not the what necessarily, but the how,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily the means, but the method.
Yes.
And once we started doing that, the people who had been grown up through that system and the people who had been parents within that system and the people who had worked for that system, it started picking up so quickly. And it was like a wildfire. And the next thing I know, um, people's morale start lifting because they feel seen, they feel heard. But then not only that, people started coming back home, and
Mm.
we grew 25% in one summer because they knew West Sabine is back. But then not only that, we started recruiting people because just like you said, recruitment and retention, that's a factor that we don't often think about in terms of success for our district. However, when you look at those metrics and you look at how many people are applying for your positions,
Yeah.
when you look at when they're applying for your districts for the next year, those are some key qualitative metrics that you can pay attention to determine the overall health of your system. And
Mm-hmm.
so after we got going and we got that plane off the ground, oh my goodness, people and things and ideas and synergy started coming from everywhere. And our district just started booming. And that was just over the top for me. It was almost overwhelming because at this point, it's an all systems, all pistons go. Now, with that being said, all I just did for you was describe the characteristics of the West Sabine Way, which is the system of working in our district, living in our district, rearing your kids in our district. Now, let's channel that through the teacher pipeline protocols.
Mm-hmm.
And when a new teacher does come, when a new administrator does come, let's teach them and let them share. Let's share the West Sabine Way with them. And then at least they're at least acclimated to the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can jump into the key items such as curriculum and those more well-defined systems of the district.
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, so what happens? Let me tell you what happens when I interview um, educators. What I do is I do my homework, and you find clips, and you look at content, and you try to piece it together, but you can't really piece it together until you interview the person. So I remember
Hmm.
there was a clip, and I can't remember if it was a teacher, and you asked the question, what do you bleed? And the person's next statement was, I think was it orange? Let me make sure.
Uh-huh. We
Yeah.
bleed orange.
Okay. Okay. I got that right. I'm not West to be, but I understand now that how you set up systems is important, and how you order it is important. I, I'm a Steelers fan. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't like Bill Belichick, but I like what he does. Of
Uh-huh.
You establish the culture, the environment, and you then place people there that makes it effective.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's the thing is that when you build your system, you have to build your system on a set of values.
Yep. Yep.
Once you build on a set of values, then when we talk about commitment, oh man, it you can ask your people to run through a brick wall for these kids at West Sabine, and guess what? They're going. They're
Hmm.
going. And if they can't get through it, they're coming out with a chisel. I mean, our people believe in the kid at West Sabine ISD, and we built on those systems. And we built those systems out of values. One of the next things that we did, we had to identify our core values. Who are we? And I asked that question over and over and over again. I had my idea, but who are we? And so we built our systems on not just who we are, but who we want to be. So culture,
Hmm.
that's where some of that data came from that I was telling you about. Communication, because communication sets the whole thing in order, but then it also keeps us intact. But then the third one, culture, communication, consistency, because you cannot get to the level of excellence without consistency. It's doing great things well over a period of time. And then finally, moving forward, we want to be a credible system as well. And so that's when we go back and we vet all of our systems. That's when we vet our relationships and our partnerships. And we make sure that we're with the best person and getting the best bang for our buck, the best return on our investments for
Hmm.
our kids. And we called a lot of people out. A lot of partnerships got culled and killed. Why are we paying this much money and we're only getting this?
Right.
Whenever this partner over here not just only wants to provide us a service and we pay for the service, they also want to come in and mentor our kids as well. Oh, come on, get out of here, get out of here.
Now I knew that this conversation was going to go like I knew it was, because uh, when I went on the website, the first thing I said, okay, all right, what did I sign up for? Because it was like, all right, I see it in action. I could read, I could understand as an outsider what you all stood for. Like I saw it, and to hear it being
Yeah,
unraveled here right now is wonderful, because now I understand the whole idea of communication. If it's you're either verbalizing it, or your actions are communicating your expectations. And then this last part where you just talked about, these are difficult conversations to have.
yeah,
And if you don't have them, sometimes you don't see the growth that you are looking for, but you got to have them as a leader. And sometimes those are
yeah,
conversations that are avoided, which
yes.
truly impact a lot of people.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you something else. Those four C's, they fix other issues.
Mm,
Um, when you look at communication, credibility, consistency, and culture, you fight conflict because we know who we are and where we are, right?
yeah.
You fight complacency because the standard has been set, and this is the how. Like I tell people all the time, it's never the what, it's always the how.
Mhm.
Because that's what makes a difference. Maya Angelou says it like this: people will forget what you said, people forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so, whenever I take my parent base, whenever I take my community base, whenever I take my students, and I let them know that they are more than just a consumer of our district,
Mhm.
but they're a stakeholder, that
Right.
they are an active role, and without them, we are nothing, the attitude changes. And like I said, even when you're in conflict or confusion, all we do is we go back to who we are because this is a roadmap. Wait, hold on. Here's what we're shooting for here. Now, tell me your understanding. Let me tell you my understanding, and let's meet in the middle because something tells me that the only reason why we are in confusion or conflict right now is because there's a misunderstanding. Because I know that you want what's best for our kids, and there shouldn't be a doubt that I want what's best for our kids. So let's communicate our way through this and let's build.
I like the statement about uh, parents not being consumers, but stakeholders. Those There's a vast difference between being a consumer and a stakeholder.
Absolutely. Because this is we initiated so many platforms in our district, and a major one is parent family engagement. And there's so many levels to how that plan unraveled. We ended up even moving into a new leadership building where we have created a space for our parents to be able to come in and take care of their needs in the district. We have created parent family engagement stations on the campuses. We have new engagement liaisons for parents and family and community that we give stipends to, that you meet the need of the parent. We have a whole campaign wrapped around it as well. I'm telling you, we have a community center built inside of our new leadership building now. To whatever you need, there are no excuses to get to the next level.
Okay.
And
So,
we don't have enough time, Tony, to jump into it. But I'm telling you,
yeah.
there are so many levels to we have partnerships all over the country that pour into this. We work with Partners for Rural Impact out of Kentucky. We are transforming our system. And the key driving statement for PRI is, what does it take for West Sabine students to thrive? Do you know how open that question is?
Oh, yeah.
And since that partnership, we've opened up a new clinic in our community from this leadership roundtable. We have opened up a new gymnastics center from this. We have opened up business conversations, and the acumen has been around the kid.
Hmm.
Because once the kid is put into the driver's seat, then ego goes out of the door.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm done with that because I get fired up. Here.
No, I knew
I'm
you
trying to.
were, but here's the thing: it's making uh, interviewing someone, and you've looked at the information, and to now fill in those gaps of understanding, it makes sense. Where you talk about supporting the parents. That's one thing to talk about supporting the parents, but to actually dive into, there are layers to it, and being prepared to take on the different variables that you face when you have parents from a community, because the community
Yes,
is not the same. So
it's
now,
not the same.
I remember, I was listening to an interview, and the individual was talking about the many hats that you have. I see now, like, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So one of the things that I tell people when they ask me who I am or whatever, I'm an ambassador to this area. But not only am I an ambassador to this area, I am the chief convener
Mm,
of all things West Sabine. And when I say West Sabine, I've since throughout our region and throughout our state changed it. You're not just saying West Sabine ISD, the school district. We're talking about West Sabine, the west side of Sabine County. We're talking about West Sabine, the small rural plex. That's what I call ourselves. We're a rural plex. We are a geographic portion of the world that you can invest in for the lives of America. Man, we're doing big things. I wish I could even post a list of everything that we have touched from the various stakeholder meetings that I have now been invited invited to since we built this table. You know, in 1993, that movie came out when he said, if you build it, they will come, right?
Yep. Yep.
If you build it. And that's what happened. And we have a voice at every table. I mean, in Austin at the state capitol, in our region service center. Um, gosh, we have so many round tables and grassroots tables that only West Sabine is able to get into because people have realized the intentionality of our big, bold vision.
Hmm.
And like I tell my staff all the time, who doesn't want to be a part of something great?
And everybody. So, gosh, that's the layers to it. If you're describing how do you help first year teachers, before any of that happens, you have to have identity so that
Yes,
you can have systems in place so that you don't allow them to go out and they feel valued in this process and they understand the process, because sometimes they don't. They think that they're just a teacher, but they're
that's
actually
right.
the person that's coming in to help transform the future is in their
Yes,
classroom, right? That
that's right.
So to hear that this is, because it's the responsibility is it's not just theirs, it's everyone within that
Yes.
culture. That's
And
their
and what in West Sabine, Texas, it's all of our jobs, right?
yeah.
And I'll never forget one of my athletic directors took another job. And later that year, we ended up playing that school in the playoffs. And we hosted them, not the playoffs, it was district play. And they were in our district. And we played them. And so we had two games back to back with two different school districts. And so my team jumps out as soon as this one game was over, and we transformed our space, kind of like we do in an event center, right?
Yeah.
Because running West Sabine is a production,
Hmm.
and that's the energy that I put into it, because that's the shift that I want to see, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we all jump in, maintenance and operations and our housekeepers and our building operators and myself and my principal and my athletic director, and we all jump in and we're shifting tables. We are moving chairs and cleaning the space up for the next team to play. And somebody from this other district looked at my AD and it was like, "Isn't that the superintendent out there picking up chairs and moving stuff?" And this guy told them, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He said, at West Sabine, everybody works. At West Sabine, everybody makes it happen.
Yeah. So where do I go with this? Because if the when we say accountability, right? Sometimes we think of it
Yes.
as power, right? We have everybody accountable. It's power, but it's not that.
No.
It is engaging someone that's in their own space to buy in to the vision. That's the
Yes.
part. That's and to see a superintendent there locking arms with those that are on that are out there in the field, that's something that speaks volumes, and the community sees that as well as the team members that are there.
Well, you just said it. You made a very dichotomous statement, and you tapped on it, but I'm gonna dive into it really quickly. Um, when you talked about the leadership piece, you talked about so many people believe that leadership is power, but John Maxwell says it like this: leadership is influence, and influence requires trust.
Hmm.
Influence requires vulnerability. So right now, my teachers and I, when I go to their campuses, they know they can walk up to me, their superintendent, and just come clean. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? What's going on? What are the effects of ABC 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
But that's how we build the system, because it's not my system, it's our system. And we each have roles, right?
Hmm.
And so, with that being said, it takes all of us, and my teachers know that I trust them. And when they come to us and they talk to me, we make sure that as the new system goes forth, they're able to see themselves in it. And we're meeting that need.
And that's a difference where it's not. commandments from on high. There's a difference.
No,
There's a difference.
no.
It's a difference from commandments coming from, from up high down, as opposed to the
Hmm.
relational piece where now we're locking arms and we're walking through and it's being modeled. Now I see the value. I not only do I see it, I feel the value and I feel valued in this process. That's buy
Yes.
in.
Well, and I know that we're talking about new and novice teachers. So you remember I talked about that those qualitative metrics,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We now have teachers that are driving through 2 and 3 and 4 districts to get to ours to go to work. And I visited with one of them one day after school. There was a situation, and I walked in her door. School was over, and this situation had just occurred at dismissal. And I walked in her door, and she's like, "Oh my God, y'all care so much. How do I deal with this?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "This thing just happened at dismissal, and the principal's already been by, the assistant principal's already been by, and now you're walking through my door and you're in regular clothes." I said, "Yeah, I had to leave for the day early today, but when I got this call, I turned around and came back." She was just like, "I've seen you more in the first couple of weeks of school than I saw my superintendent all year." And she said, "You're in our group me conversation. So anytime you can provide an answer, you answer the questions." So let's talk about those metrics really quickly. We got people now driving in,
Mm-hmm.
passing through districts to get to ours. And so with that being said, when you talk about the brand new teacher, the first year teacher that comes into our district, teachers learn from teachers, right?
Right, correct.
If we build that system of trust with the teachers. Now, when that novice teacher comes, the first question she asks is going to be to a teammate, right?
Yes,
Or
right.
it's going to be to the person in the next grade or the next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what have we invested into the climate by making sure and being consistent with timely providing feedback, timely being present, timely building that trust for that new teacher when she hears from another teacher? Oh, no, go talk to them. They'll hear you. They'll hear
Mm-hmm.
you.
Right. Being an
That's a
advocate.
system of support.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the major pieces. Yeah, the ROI from making sure that a research based and effective curriculum is in place, but then at the same time, um, how to get a bus for your field trip, all that stuff's done. We can take care of all of that. How to go to the library, how to get your kids to memorize their lunch numbers, and all of we'll take care of all of that. That's easy. But do I feel valued? Do I feel seen? Am I safe, healthy, and supported? But then making sure that it's communicated to you, teacher, that at West Sabina ISD, your actions model safe, healthy, and supported of our students. Because that teaches you how to act too.
You and I don't understand why these comments are not coming on here, but Dr. Kane, assistant superintendent, I think this is Marshall. She just said, "Love it, great conversation about the 4 C's," and she thanked you. Another comment, Dr. Earl Watkins. He's a what? How do I place him? I don't think the term is conservator in Mississippi, but he's just a dynamic superintendent. He's a retired superintendent. He's just a dynamic guy. And he made this statement. They're being able to see themselves in it. That's a powerful statement. So I want to bring
Mhm.
that up. I don't know why it didn't come up on the screen, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. And yeah, you are
Great. Thank
firing
you.
off this powerful information. It's not just information, transformative um, process that leaders can hear, but then also educators need to hear this because if sometimes they're not invited to the party and they don't understand what's going on, and
Yeah.
everyone within the process needs to. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
and that's the thing, man. I'm like I said, this all boils back to how you show up every day as the leader. I believe that I am fulfilling my purpose and answering a call. And when you feel that way, it's different. It's different.
Absolutely, and I'm going to be respectful of the time on both of our cases. So we're going to have to do this one again. I ask, I regret if I can get another time, sometime later down, or something that's not live to really dive into this conversation. Um, because it's like the common core standards, or whatever, whichever state calls it's not about, we need to go deeper into certain aspects of standards, and even this conversation go deeper. It's not about as many having 5 or 6 questions. It's about the depth, because
Yeah,
sometimes people don't know. It's not about having a plethora of options. It's about being great at what you are assigned to. So I'm gonna, again, like I said, based on our timing right now, I'm gonna pause it and just give you the opportunity to have the floor and just give educators the more encouragement. You've done a lot, but you have the floor, sir. I'm gonna step out of the way.
well, I guess, what comes to mind is, even for us, in the soup seat, even for us who are principals and assistant soups and in cabinets, this is a matter of, as I just mentioned, why you show up every day. Um, you have to reflect, as Coach Tony first started this conversation, and remember what it was like when you were a student, what worked, what didn't work. But then also, what was it like for you as a teacher? What was it like for you when you were a campus administrator? And go back on those experiences and make sure that we fill in those gaps. But then you have to build that system around present day norms, right?
Hmm.
What is the deal with our campuses now? What makes them work? What makes them not work? And we have to pull in from our various stakeholders, and we need to listen. We need to listen to them. And from there, build your work. We are all gifted. That's why we're here. In one way or another, nobody's gifted the same way. But with that being said, utilize your giftedness, because when I operate in my area of giftedness, I don't get tired.
Hmm.
I don't get tired. Do I get to pace myself? Yeah, I have to. But whenever you operate in that level of giftedness, you know why you're here, you know your purpose, and you're able to fulfill your purpose, because your purpose is not fueled by external factors. It's fueled from the inside. And that's where the passion comes from. And it's almost impossible for me to take one podcast and package this thing up. But But I just have to, when I'm at the front door, I have to tell you what it's like on the front porch, right? And so before we can even tap into providing for novice teachers need to know what they're getting into.
Hmm.
And you need to say, when you're working with Dr. Gilder, it's this way. When you're working at West Bean, it's this way. But that clears up a lot of confusion. Let them know what they're walking into. Let them know that kids are important, and know your life's work. I know that this is my life's work. And so, more than anything, just operating through the attributes, I am grateful. And so, I promise God that if He allowed me to do what He wanted me to do, I do the best job that I can do at it. And so, with that being said, He in turn continues to fill me every day and fuel me, so that we can create an ecosystem, not just for my people. I work for the 5.5 million students across the state of Texas.
Hmm.
And the thing is, like I said, if you build it, they will come. We were once a district that nobody would even look at. And now we serve on committees from the regional level to the county level to the state level, because our voice matters too. And we just need to remind all of our people that their voice matters, that they're seen, that they're heard, and that we're going to build a credible system that's going to grow you from this step to the next step. And that's all I got, man, for the day. Because, like you said, if I shift gears again, we'll be here to lunch.
Well, sir, I appreciate you. I'm gonna drop you in the green room real quick. Uh, thank you is not the word, but yeah, we need something else there. But I'm gonna drop you in the green room real quick and close this out, sir.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. Thanks again. I appreciate you for extending the invitation to me.
thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the editing part of this, it's going to be phenomenal. I knew that it was going to be a conversation that you had to put your seatbelt on, but then you had to take your seatbelt back off and just kind of adjust yourself. So, yeah, I know you got something from this. I have no question about it. So, again, thank you so much for viewing. And yeah, find What's the Beans website and find out what's going on. This ends our podcast.